Welcome to Gender Diversity. Why are there so many pronouns? This is by the Rainbow Diversity Institute, and it's a Black-owned company that does education about this and many other topics. You can learn more about us at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca. So, what do pronouns do anyway? If we're going to talk about why there's so many and what's going on with this, it would be helpful to know what they do so we can decide whether there's a problem or not. Pronouns have a lot of different purposes, and among three, the most important ones are pronouns help language flow. We don't like the sound of hearing a person's name over and over again. It sounds really awkward. So we typically use he, she, and regularly use they, even if it's not about gender, to communicate and make language flow more clearly. Pronouns are also a way of helping us respectfully clarify who we're talking about. If I don't use anything to let you know who I'm discussing, and I'm talking about more than one person, it can get really confusing really quickly. In a lot of cultures, pronouns also communicate gender. And it doesn't always. We would regularly use the word they if it doesn't really matter to the conversation, or if we don't know what the gender of the person is that we're talking about. Perhaps we haven't seen them, or we didn't really have a guess if we did see them. So pronouns are all about communication, respect, and helping language flow. When we think about these three goals for pronouns, it makes sense that they need to be accurate, they need to be respectful, and they need to be usable for folks. And the usable part might maybe take some practice. So, why has it gotten so complicated with so many pronouns if things are supposed to be usable and easy and free flowing? Well, it's always been a bit complicated, but maybe it wasn't complicated for you until you gained this level of awareness about pronouns, that they're out there and they exist. And they're out there and they exist because, don't forget, one of the main reasons for having pronouns is to communicate gender if it's known or if it matters in the situation. So pronouns have always been used for that purpose. And things like the singular they date back a long time, but let's not get into that quite yet. It's just always been a bit complicated. So if pronouns communicate gender when we're speaking to or about each other, then it makes sense that we've probably always had more than two pronouns. We just didn't tell people who are going to get upset about it. Now that there's more social justice around this area, it makes sense that more people are speaking up and saying, actually, the words you've been using for me don't work. They're inaccurate. And one of the important points of pronouns is accuracy in communication. So I want to be communicated about accurately. And also, by the way, I exist. And because I exist, I should be able to be spoken about with accuracy. Now, if your pronouns are he or she, then likely you haven't encountered the feeling of people are using the wrong word for me all the time. Therefore, it hasn't felt complicated for you. But that's just for you. It isn't for everyone else who's been affected by this. So, this is actually a really good sign. It's a really good sign for the world, and it's a really good sign for you that things have gotten so complicated. For you, it means that you're more aware now and you're in a position where people feel a little bit safer, increasing your awareness about them. That's great for the situation, for our culture, for our world. We're slowly making progress on this. And it's a great sign for you. High fives that you've been exposed to more pronouns. It means that people are identifying you as maybe somebody who can be a safe person to be around. And safe meaning someone who's going to be respectful and someone who's going to use communication well, and pronouns as a part of that. So, congratulations to you and to the group. So, let's try to live up into this trust that's been put in us and keep learning so we can do a good job. Okay, I made the best pitch I could, but maybe you're still uncomfortable and you don't like it. Let's consider that it's our job to wade through discomfort in order to cause less harm, not just about pronouns, but all kinds of things. When we find out that something we do hurts other people in an avoidable way, then we want to stop doing that because we don't want to be people who just hurt folks indiscriminately just because we can and we're power tripping, right? So sometimes it takes being uncomfortable to learn how to cause less harm. Maybe that looks like finding out that you've been using your coffee maker in a dangerous way and not cleaning it in a way that will keep you comfy and safe. But you don't like the idea of having to clean your coffee maker more often or in a different way or finding out something like that. But you know that it's important in order to cause less harm, at least to the other people you give coffee to go ahead and learn how to do that better. Well, it's the same thing with pronouns too, but maybe even more important depending on the situation. Sometimes our discomfort really is just a sign that we're learning and we're growing and we're building new connections in our neurons in our brain in order to do things better and learn new ways of doing. In order to help that be less uncomfortable, we have to practice. The first time you learn how to clean that fancy pod coffee machine probably didn't go that great, or you had to use directions or get help or look it up online or muddle through and hope for the best. As you practiced it and got better at it, it went easier for you, I bet. So, practicing using pronouns respectfully gets way easier with time and experience and a lot less uncomfortable. Eventually, it ends up being what pronouns are supposed to be, a smooth, easy way to communicate all of those different points we talked about earlier. I also want to point out that being uncomfortable doesn't necessarily mean that you're being oppressed, because I'm hearing a lot about this lately. So sometimes discomfort just means that we've been catered to and we didn't realize it. And actually, we're not that much more deserving of catering to than other people. In fact, we should all be, working on respecting each other. And so sometimes that discomfort is a sign that we're learning new ways to be respectful of others and not that we're being oppressed, especially if we have a higher privilege level than the folks that we're learning to be more respectful of. Okay, maybe you're still not convinced about the situation. Well, maybe we don't need to understand it fully in order to be respectful. I'd like to ask you what matters most to you. Feeling like you're suddenly a grammar expert, whether you are or not, or feeling like you're a person who understands the importance of respecting other people on a basic human level. Gosh, I really hope you're saying option two to that one. Keep in mind that language is evolving. The purpose of language is communication, and that means as communication evolves, language evolves. If we are communicating something successfully to other people, then we're using language well. It's just in a state of evolution. And I really want to invite you to be part of positive change and a better world for everyone. And, if I told you that practicing how to use pronouns would help make the world a better place, because it would, I hope that you're thinking to yourself, oh, okay, that's worth the time and effort for me, because just because it hasn't mattered to me doesn't mean it hasn't mattered to others. And now that I know, I want to be part of that better world and that more positive change. Thanks so much for listening to this intro on gender diversity and why are there so many pronouns. I hope you'll take a look at rainbowdiversityinstitute.ca and keep on learning.